My story actually starts when I was a little girl. My father was a preacher at a small country church, and I loved mission work. I loved Africa ever since I was young. I was married at 21. I had this dream of my marriage being this spiritual partnership and being perfect, and in reality, I just begged God to save my marriage for years. The marriage ended up ending in a very painful divorce. Broken decisions were made out of broken places, and I was really just immersed in shame. I just thought my life was over, and I didn't understand how God could ever use me again. That led me down the road into a severe depression, and even at one point I became suicidal. I ended up in a treatment center for post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had hit the bottom. I didn't really have any choice except to reach up. Even though I didn't know how, I had to reach out for help. I actually sold my car to pay for treatment, and so one Sunday I walked to the nearest church, and there was a man speaking who had survived the Rwandan genocide, and he was talking about how God used his past to help others in Africa. So I ended up actually going to Congo for the first time with the organization that he founded 2 years after I graduated treatment. I was just in awe of the children that I met on that trip to Congo. They were in the middle of a war zone, but they danced and they played and they laughed. And it was on that trip that I met children so traumatized that they couldn't speak, that I heard stories of child slaves who were forced to kill, and I didn't have a place to put that in my head. Sometimes something touches your heart so deeply that doing nothing isn't an option anymore, and it becomes more about finding a way than it does about finding excuses. I just kept thinking, what if these were my children? I wouldn't have the option to look away, and so I decided I would fight for them. I didn't have a 5-year plan, and I didn't have a large sum of money to fund the vision. I just started putting one step in front of the other and prayed that God would step into the gap, and that's how Exile International was started. I met Matthew around 3 years after Exile International was founded. A mutual friend connected us, and he was actually doing work with sex trafficking victims and survivors of trauma internationally, and he was looking for an organization to work with. He was a counselor, and so we started working together and cautiously dated for a couple of years and ended up getting married, and now we run the ministry together. He's really been my greatest surprise in life. This story isn't one that I dreamed about when I was a little girl. I didn't dream about brokenness or divorce when I was a little girl, but it's really been beautiful to see how God has used my shame and my past pain to create beauty and purpose out of my darkest hours. I believe in my life and also in the Children in Exile's programs that our greatest heartache has become and is becoming our greatest gift. And you know, this story isn't even my story, it's really God's story of redemption, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.